And so I'm touching everything on the ship, and I walk over to the starboard side, which is the right side of the ship, and I just kind of look around. There's a kind of a metal gangplank that runs down the side of the ship, and I look over that way, and there's a UFO just finishing coming out of the water. And it goes about 40 feet above the water and just sits there. And this was not, and all I had ever heard about at this time in my life was flying saucers, round flying saucers, and these little orb things that every once in a while I saw on a special. I pretty much thought anybody who said they saw a UFO was crazy, because I grew up in a church and they said aliens don't exist, and that was, you know, part of, I don't know where they got that, because I've gone back to the Bible and tried to find it. So there's this, it wasn't round, it wasn't an orb, it was, what I saw was square. I mean, the ship itself, I'm pretty sure was a triangle, but I couldn't see the whole thing. But the side I saw was 40 to 50 yards high, larger than the Nimitz long. This is what I saw. It was about 300 yards to maybe a mile off the starboard side of the Nimitz up front. Part of it was obstructed by the tower of the Nimitz. And everybody I've talked to, they're like, well, expand on it. Tell me more. I can't tell you more. I stared at it for a half an hour. I mean, every sensation I ever had in my life went away. I just stared at it. I mean, what do you do when you see a block floating in the ocean? And underneath it, there was, the ocean was lit up, but there were not, it wasn't like there was these round light spots on it.
Holy shit, guys. This video has been making the rounds on social media. It's been catching fire, right? Exploding. And I thought we might as well talk about it, because I'm bringing to you guys the utmost latest and best news possible, okay? So make sure you support daily uploads. Watch this entire video. It gets good, okay? And yeah, thanks for all the support recently. We're trying to get 500 subs, and we're really motherfucking close.
It just was illuminated. I just stared at it. I don't know what else to say. Everybody, last night I got inundated by all these people thanking me for telling my story, and I'm like, my story's not a big deal. I stared at something for half an hour. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not like I can't expand on it. You know, I didn't see little windows with little green men looking out it. It was solid. There were kind of pronounced lines down the ship. I do remember that. And the only reason I know it was a half hour, because I actually referred back to the logbooks. I actually looked at the logbooks for the ship, and then when I went up to the tower a couple days later, I wanted to see who was in flight ops, and found out that it was just the admiral, the captain, and the flight boss. But they were up there, which is 360 degrees glass, so they saw it. I'm now convinced they knew it was there. But I just stared at it, and going back at it, I realized I stared at it for half an hour. It only took me about 5 minutes after this buzzing started to get up and look around and see it. We were actually on darkened ship for 41 minutes. And, of course, after it left, there was about another 5 minutes before they unlocked the watertight door, and I went in. But I just stared at it. I mean, I was thinking something, but it's not like I have a racy mind. You know, I'm thinking about, what are my kids doing? There's always 50 thoughts in my head. I have this job to do. That. My mind was blank. I mean, it was just totally blank. I was just sitting there looking at this thing floating above the Pacific Ocean off the starboard side of the most powerful, second most powerful, the Abraham at the time, just floating there. We weren't doing anything. Jets weren't being scrambled. We were just sitting there. The ship had almost stopped to a crawl. We were just sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with this thing floating off the starboard side that was as big as us or larger. And I know I've said it. That's all I could do was look at it. And then towards the end, it kind of moved slightly, kind of almost like a turn, which is when I saw that there was an angle. And I want to say that it went up and disappeared, because I think I saw it start to go up, but it was so fast that when I kind of noticed that upward motion, I looked up. And I'm a guy that's taken pictures of the SR-71 disappearing over the horizon. I did infrared imaging of it. I did spectral analysis, all this thing of this jet when it took off. That's a fast plane. You know, they say it goes Mach 3. It goes much faster. You can watch it go over the horizon like this. I couldn't watch this thing disappear. It was that fast. It was just there and gone. And the thing I remember the most is after looking up, I looked down at the water expecting this huge wake, you know, coming back at the Nimitz from whatever power, nothing. It was the waves were doing. It was like nothing. There was no force down in the ocean. Nothing displaced.
And we've heard quite a bit about this, where the water underneath this craft, right, whether it's like a Lockheed prototype or an NHI craft, the white water, like the water's being lit up, and like, but supposedly white water, and it's like really weird how they, you know, move in the ocean and then in the air above the ocean. Like, it's mainly where the ocean is about, right? So a lot of people have been making theories about them like just hiding in the ocean. That's how they avoid the monkeys that went to the land, right?
Well, we're happy that you're here, and I know it takes a lot for people to come forward. This is an incredibly frightening
It took me 23 years.
Why did you wait so long?
Because after I first saw the UFO, I was interrogated aboard the ship by two men, and they made it very uncomfortable, and I knew better than to say anything to them, just based on past experiences in the military where I was a combat photographer, in that we did all kinds of other pictures, where I had taken pictures of people before they go into the brig because they were crazy, not because they saw a UFO, but because they saw something minor or said something happened. So I knew the military looked down on that stuff. So after I saw it, 2 days went by, and then these guys came in and interrogated me. They were real nice at first, but then they turned mean, and I just told them I didn't see anything. Then when I got out of the military, I was retired. I got injured, so I was medically retired. I decided that I would tell my pastor and my wife and my mom. And the three of them actually had me 5150'd for 3 days. They actually said I was crazy. I had PTSD. I was having really bad nightmares, night sweats, tears, yelling, and then I tell them that I saw a UFO, and the next thing I know, my mom asks me to come up to her house the next day, and literally the sheriff's department is there, and she says, my son's gone crazy. And so I had to go to a mental institution and sit there for 3 days and convince the doctors that I wasn't crazy. And that was the last time I ever talked about it, up until 3 years ago when MUFON, who I'd filed a report with, got back hold of me and wanted me to go on Hangar 1. I told them absolutely not. And they started off with kind of the low man on the totem pole, and it went up and up and up and up and up until Jan Harzan called me, and he put me at ease. He told me I could do it anonymously. So they sent me a tape recorder, and I told my story on tape. And then literally right before they were going to go and print the show for the TV show, I emailed Paul Vivilod and told him he could use my name. So they redid the narration and used my name.
I don't wanna go far, wanna stay right here where my friends are. Drink cheap cold beer, we can smoke weed, do the same damn shit at the same bar. When they tell us to leave, we'll say fuck that. Fuck that. You can drive me away, but I'll run back. Run back. I don't wanna grow up, wanna be a kid forever.